and pledges. So Tom, you want to do the invocation?
Certainly. Please bow your heads. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you that we've all come here together in good health, and we ask you today that you inspire us and lift us up, and that we might be encouraged to strengthen our love, our joy, and our faith in each other and in you, Lord. We ask these things, and in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. So we have any comments from the public? No. Consider and act on request for adjustments to a relief. No, nothing. Okay. Okay, so we have the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything you want to pull out to discuss? No. So I can have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion to approve.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so next is, I guess we'll deal with the election. So we're gonna have the acceptance of qualification statements, bonds, oath of office, affidavits for the current directors, myself, Stephanie and Elvin, but Elvin's not here,
Yeah,
so.
we'll defer on Elvin and we'll keep this on the agenda for next month for him.
Yeah, right.
But as to the other two directors, and how do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, Stephanie's here.
Swintis, all right. All right, so we need to take action to accept the documents for Director Smith and Swintis.
We did a motion for that?
We need a motion for that.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept those documents?
Motion to accept the
Have a second? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so I will go ahead and perform the oath here in a second. And then once I perform the oath, then Stephanie will be able to go ahead and start serving on the board going forward. I think Eric's got some things to be able to share with Fred and y'all for being able to, Tom, to be able to serve on the board for all these years. So I hand it over to Eric.
Yes, on behalf of Williams Water Agency and MUD 46, I'd like to present these plaques to both Tom and Brett for our appreciation for your service the last few years. And I'll read what it said here. Our sincere thank you and appreciation for exceptional leadership and dedicated service to Montgomery County Municipal Utility District number 46. And both of y'all served from May of 2022 till today. So I want to thank y'all. It's been a pleasure working with y'all personally. I've only been here for 3 of those 4 years working with y'all, but I've enjoyed my time and getting to know y'all and working with y'all. So I really appreciate that.
Great.
Same here. Thank you very much.
Have all the wounds healed yet?
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'll go perform the oath. Stephanie,
Yeah, take care.
stand up and-
Take care. See you.
Tom,
Thank
take care.
Yeah.
You, Stephanie Swin.
Be in the mailbox.
Yes, right.
That you'll faithfully execute the duties of the office of director of Montgomery County MUD number 46, state of Texas, and which to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and law of the United States and this state, so help you God.
Hi, Jim.
Congratulations. Come have a seat.
Keep in touch.
Welcome aboard. Thank you. Thanks for that. Great work.
Yeah.
Kim, take care. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye, guys. Thanks again. Take care.
Okay, so we got 10 done, so we have 11 now. Election of officers.
Well,
Oh,
10 is
okay.
accept the election not to disclose the personal contact information and other confidential information of our directors. It's allowed to be retained pursuant to the Public Information Act. We do need a motion to accept those elections for Stephanie.
Want this?
I'm gonna get it right here. Just watch, I know it's- it's-
Okay, so I have a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the
Have a
documents
second?
not disclosed.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Election of officers.
okay, that's good. So elections of officers of board of directors. So we have positions of president, vice president, secretary treasurer. And we have multiple positions for secretary treasurer and alternates. So so you don't need a nomination.
If you don't want to change a position, there's not a nomination needed. So right now, at a minimum, we have a vacancy at vice president and assistant secretary. So we can either take action, or if y'all want to wait and defer until Elvin gets seated next month, we can do that.
I'm comfortable nominating David to be president, if you guys are all right with that. So I move to nominate David as president.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then Joseph, do you want to be vice president?
I accept.
Okay, all in favor of Joseph being vice president, say aye. Aye. And then we have the elusive secretary and treasurer. So Susanna,
I'll be happy to do it again.
okay, so Susanna's going to be the assistant secretary and treasurer.
I nominate Susanna the assistant secretary.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we have the very important position of another assistant secretary.
Look at me.
Yep, so,
I nominate Stephanie Schwantes.
watch this, yeah, okay, all in favor, Stephanie, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then, so when Elvin comes back, I'm sure we can find a job for Elvin.
I think there's another assistant
Secretary,
secretary.
right,
It's got his name all over it.
yeah, that's right, that's right. So that completes that. Now we have the considered appointment of a trustee and alternates. And I'm the current trustee. Do we need to,
Only, you don't need to take action unless you want to change.
everybody happy? Okay, but we do need an alternate. So Joseph, do you want to be the alternate?
I accept.
It's okay. Second for that, in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, Joseph's the alternate. And then we need another alternate, just in case, right? A second alternate to be the treasurer.
Thank you.
You don't want it? I mean, not to be treasurer, to be
Trustee.
second
Thank you.
trustee.
Second alternate.
No, thank you.
No? Okay.
I think it's only if David can't make it, if I
He
can't
can't
make
make
it,
it, then
then.
you have to make it. No, he's good. Okay, okay.
You're for enough.
You are advancing quickly. in
I have
that.
volunteered for it.
Okay, so
All right,
have
I nominate
Stephanie be the second alternate. And so what else? So we're done with elections.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we voted for the second alternate. All those in favor, Stephanie, say aye. Aye.
I did.
But actually, the check signing and initialing is more time. Okay,
Item 13 is an administrative form that we follow with the 2CEQ. It's updated to reflect our new directors, their terms of office, and their officer positions. So we'll actually have to put this on there again next month once Alvin's seated. Do you need a motion on that for,
okay, so I'll have a motion to district registration form to submit that and approve it.
Have a motion to fill out the form.
All those in favor? Say aye. Aye.
14 is to update the local government officers list with our new directors. So we need a motion to approve that, to add Stephanie, and then we'll add Elvin as well next month.
Motion to authorize the preparation and maintenance of the local government officers. I
Yes.
move.
Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
15, that is the memo, Stephanie, your materials regarding the training requirements under the Public Information Act and the Open Meetings Act. There's 2 1-hour videos you'll need to watch. There's a link referenced in the memo to the AG's website. You can watch both of those. The good news is you only have to do it once. After you've completed it one time, it satisfies your training requirements for the duration of your service, whether you're on board for 4 years or 40 years. So that's the good news. You do need to complete it within 90 days of being seated. I tell folks, go ahead and do it in the first month because otherwise it'll probably fall off your radar screen. When you complete it, when you complete both trainings, there are certificates of completion that you'll be provided with the program. Send those to Shelley, the secretary, and she will put those in your file to evidence that you've completed that training.
Yeah.
So no action is necessary on item 15.
Okay.
And then 16, also in your packet, is a memo regarding conflicts disclosure requirements. There's a bunch of check yes or no boxes there. So vast majority of the time, directors do not have conflicts, but if for some reason you think there may be a conflict with a vendor or what have you, a business relationship or whatnot, best to just give me a call and we can talk about it. They're very fact specific as to whether you have a conflict, and if you do, what action you're supposed to take, depending on how significant the conflict or potential conflict is. So we just deal with that on a case by case basis. No action is necessary on that either. Item 17 is to discuss changes to cybersecurity and artificial intelligence training requirements. There's a memo in your packet on pages 17 and 18 regarding those requirements that are being imposed by the Texas legislature. Joseph, you weren't here, I don't think, when we talked about it for cybersecurity initially. David, I believe you maybe
Trustee.
kind of were, yeah. So a few years ago, the legislature put into place requirement for completing cybersecurity training, but only if a director used a government or a district computer system for 25% or more of your required duties. So, you know, for most directors in Mud World, that they didn't qualify for having to complete it. Here in the Woodlands, you know, questions came up about, well, is using the Woodlands Water Wi-Fi, using the computer system, is accessing the Google Drive to get documents, and said, look, use your best judgment as to whether you think you meet that requirement or not. And when in doubt, just complete it. That's the easier answer. It's not a large time commitment to do. Well, the legislature has now changed the requirement for cybersecurity training to remove that usage metric. So now all elected officials have to complete it regardless of whether you use the computer system or not. In addition, they have added a new artificial intelligence training requirement for folks who use computer systems for 25% or more. So you're kind of back to that same situation of, am I using the computer system for the 25% or more of my duties? And so I would take the same thing on AI training now that I told you before on cybersecurity. If you're not sure, just go ahead and watch them both. A few differences between these training requirements and the Open Meetings Act requirements and public information training requirements is that these training requirements are annual obligations. So it's not one and you're done. You got to do it each year. The first deadline is August 31st, and it's in the memo. The first deadline is August the 31st of this year. So I would say, similar to the other trainings, do it the first month, get it off your plate. We'll probably have an item on future years' agendas around this time of year to remind y'all, hey, you need to complete the training for the next year. Employees of Woodlands Water also have to complete the training as well. There are links in the memo, and Shelley's going to send y'all electronic versions of this memo so you don't have to type in all the question marks and equal signs and capital lowercase stuff. So you can just click on the link. There are a couple of free training options for both cybersecurity and the AI training. We recommend you watch those to complete your obligation. second difference between the open meetings, public information training versus this training is that there's not an actual certificate of completion in the end, like there is for the other. So we're just going to go on the honor system. So email Shelley when you've completed your training, let her know whether you did one training or both, and she'll have that in your file to evidence that you completed your training obligations. Happy to answer questions if you have them.
Can you, for Stephanie's benefit, can you go over the form requirements, just briefly, she'll see it in the video, but
Yeah, so on the Open Meetings Act, there are, because this is the government body, it's subject to all the Open Meetings Act requirements of any other much larger, like a, city council or a county government or what have you. And it may be a little deceptive at first. You think, well, we're just a small government, maybe more akin to, an HOA in some areas or whatnot, but we're subject to all those same laws. And so one of those very important laws is the requirement for us to have a quorum to be able to conduct a board meeting. A quorum is a majority of the board. So every board is 5 members. So a quorum is 3. We've got to have a quorum to be able to conduct business. Here today, we've got 4. We also have to publish an agenda. But part of that is that if you have 3 directors together to discuss district business, if it's outside of a meeting, you're in violation of the Open Meetings Act because you're supposed to have a published agenda. It's got to be 3 business days before the meeting occurs. So that's really where new directors can kind of get a tight spot if they don't watch out. And it's not just in person with 2 other directors. It can be email. So, or you can't say, okay, well, one director is going to email another and then that and kind of daisy chain into a majority. That's what they call a walking quorum, and you'd be in violation of the Open Meetings Act. So when in doubt, don't discuss district business with, more than one director. And, you can also, if there's something that needs to be one-way discussion, because you say, well, if I'm just sending something out for information purposes, but I'm not wanting to start a dialogue, that's not deliberation. So it turns on whether you're deliberating. And if it's a one-way conversation, it's not deliberating, but the risk is always, I tell directors, it's very easy for people to hit reply all and start a deliberation that was meant to be just information dissemination. So we have the luxury in the Woodlands of having staff that a lot of MUDs don't have. And so if you have something you need to be disseminated without starting a deliberation, you can provide that to Eric and he can disseminate it to directors to prevent there being a deliberation.
that's a good summary. So if we have
So now you're-
information we want to send each other, send it to Eric or Shelley. Okay, so here we go. We see regular monthly SRA Woodlands Division report.
All right, so I don't have anything to update on the Woodlands Division monthly operations report, but Aaron does have a presentation about the 10-year project plan. And while he's getting ready, it was discussed at the trustees meeting. So if he's too brief, there is a about 40-50-minute presentation at the trustees video to watch.
Go through the whole thing again, 40 hour, whatever you want to take. Looking shorter than that this time. But just to let you know, well, there's copies here and maybe I'll hopefully got a copy as well. It's not on your Google Drive. That's the most, this is this year's revision of our 10-year project plan. So these are projects that we have utilized studies and analysis for a 10-year period to make projects that we need to have to maintain our infrastructure, maintain our level of service to our customers for water and wastewater services. Oh, and by the way, I'm Aaron Schindewolf, and the engineering manager, this y'all know, for the River Authority. But there is a presentation, as Chris noted, that was given to the trustees last week. It was a PowerPoint that's just on print, but it's embedded in y'all's packet starting on page 35. So, but take the project plan home with you. There's a lot of detail in there. Like I said, we do our best to predict our needs for the next 10 years. And we detail everything about those projects in there. One thing to note is that for this coming fiscal year 7, our focus will be on those projects that will be going on in FY27. And I'll get to that here in a little bit. But, so why do we do a 10-year project plan? Again, prioritize projects that we may not need to do today, but we know we'll need to do tomorrow. And also to have the funding available to do those projects when they are needed. I just can't say tomorrow I need a project, well, I don't have the money for that project. So you got to plan in advance for that ongoing infrastructure need for the different types of infrastructure that we have. You know, as I said, this 2027 budget for this coming year, looking at the projects of 2027, we try to set in stone 2027 and be pretty good for 2028. Beyond that, there are things that can happen, changes in operations, failures that can occur in the system that can cause the project plan to change. And that's why we update it every single year. So it is a fluid process, but we do our best for each year. Moving on to the next slide, which is 37. So how do we develop the project plan? Well, Woodlands Division and the other divisions of the River Authority have an asset management plan, which has all the assets for each division. In the Woodlands, it's roughly, I think, 9,000 assets. And, looking at the life expectancy of each asset, the performance, what the historical data is on that asset, and then we utilize all that data and studies that are done on our different parts of the infrastructure, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, to then develop a schedule of when we need to rehabilitate or replace parts of our infrastructure. So like I said, we do a lot of studies. We try to do them every 10 years on all our different parts of the infrastructure to keep it fresh. And if we need to make changes to the project plan accordingly, we will do so. However, if there's a failure in the system, that can, cause everything else to go out the window and reprioritize as you need to. But the next slide kind of shows you an illustration of the covers of many of those studies that we have done in the past few years for each different type of infrastructure that we have. On the next page, it goes into more detail and showing those different categories of infrastructure. The first bullet outlines the studies that have been done previously for all those different types. Next bullet after that, the second one, in this project plan, we're also, like I said, if it's 10 years old, we want to refresh the studies. So the 10-year plan has a variety of studies to update the 10-year project plan needs. And so that's what's included on the second bullet. And then the third bullet's as a list of all the projects that are in the project plan that resulted in those initial studies. They're a 6-digit code. They correspond to projects. And you'll see those in the project plan document itself. So how do we fund those projects? Well, we have revenues to start out with from our water and wastewater sales from the rates. We do have an existing bond from 2017. It's over $40 million for wastewater projects. We are paying debt service every year on that bond. So that's got to come out of there, first. Then we have emergency reserve, which we've got to fill or keep full. And Chris, we were talking about in earlier meetings, over $2 million or so. And then the rest of it goes into the operating fund. From the operating fund, which is utilized for salaries and chemicals and electric bill, all that stuff, you have transfers out that are dedicated to the projects on a monthly basis. And so there's a set schedule that is planned in advance of the next fiscal year for how those transfers occur out to feed the R&R fund, repair and replacement fund. Another thing about the repair and replacement fund is not bound by a fiscal year, it's bound by the project itself. So those are used for pay-as-you-go projects. However, there are certain projects that are just so large in scale, like the AC waterline projects or the Woodlands Parkway project, waterline replacement. Pay-as-you-go just won't we won't be able to afford to fund those projects that way. So you look at bonds or other means of funding those. Like I said, previously we had some from 2017. We funded some wastewater projects. We have roughly $23 million for some other projects that are either ongoing or about to start to use up those remaining funds.
And that line item, we have a line item in our budget
Yes, sir.
for water and wastewater.
That's right.
And I think we pay that off. It's like not quite 500,000 a year. And we'll pay that off over the next 4 years, I think.
Mhm.
It diminishes, into diminish.
So those go towards major projects. Also, we do have a grant we got from the federal government for funding one project, mostly for flood mitigation of a lift station facility. So like I said, things beyond the 2017 bonds that aren't covered by grants or by the R&R funds, which are those AC projects and some future gravity sewer projects, those do not currently have funding sources. So there'll be a discussion here following mine about those tier 1 projects from the AC or the waterline condition-based assessment on funding those projects and how that schedule could look and those different options. So our budget schedule, as far as how we budget each year, we start in October. Typically, our fiscal year starts September 1, so we get about a month break, and then we start looking at funding for the following fiscal year, looking at new studies we've just been doing or need to do to update the project plan. And so once all that is done, we present to y'all a draft of the project plan first to the trustees and then the individual MUDs. Then the following month in June is the O&M budget. Trustees first, then MUDs again. And then in July is when the MUDs will give direction on how to vote on that budget to their trustee. And then in August is when the vote occurs by the trustees on the budget. That is also when SRA's board approves or votes on the budget as well, following about a week later. And September 1 is when the new budget year starts. Next slide. 42. It's one thing of particular note from previous years. It's actually important for anybody, for newer folks here. Last 2 years, we had a project plan 10-year total of over $700 million. This fiscal year, we're proposing a 10-year plan of less than half of that, $353 million. Reason for that is a different focus on what we do with wastewater treatment facility 1, where that's the primary reason for that difference. We're going a step back. We're looking at 4 different options, alternatives for that plant, what to do with it for the future. We are now looking at maintaining in place where it's at and going with a repair replacement procedure for keeping that plant in service. We do have a owner's advisor work order that was approved at the trustees last week to take the data that was done from an SFDUE capacity study that was performed on Woodlands Water, take that data, take our historical flow data for the plant, look at TCQ regulations, and look at right sizing the plant for our future needs, and then looking at projects that we need to do over the next 10, 20 years and how to prioritize those. So that is most of that difference. The other part of the difference is that AC waterline conditions product study did push off some of the projects a little bit further into the future, so that got cut off as well.
On page 9, in our book, I don't know about your book, wastewater treatment plant facility 1, and you have an estimated total budget cost of 75 to 100 million. Is that?
It's
is that
page
what you got?
43 and
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, sir.
got it.
We got more than one book floating
Yep.
around.
As right now, that is our best guess based upon knowing what infrastructure is in our plant and what we know will need replacing or at least rehabilitation in the next 10 years. However, what comes out of that new study by Corolla will refine that number so that we can eventually put that back into the project plan. You can see the types of projects that we anticipate will have to be done at some point in the next 10 years.
But this is a similar list that we saw 2 years ago.
Yes, that's correct. Beyond that, we'll take y'all's time, like I said, go through the project plan. It's, the other document, particularly focused on ones that are scheduled for 2027. And there, these next 9 slides correspond to those projects. But we do have 2 I want to focus on. That's those next 2, the first 45 and 46. The 2 waterline projects, as noted. Town center has been under design already before the analysis was done, which coincidentally, still defined as the highest priority project. However, we only have money for design as of right now. So any easement acquisition we need or construction funds, we do not have as of right now. And the other tier 1 project, Woodlands Parkway waterline replacement, we do have not any funds for the entire project to design, acquire easements, or construct it. And so, there's a supplemental agreement that's been on discussion, and the next item on the agenda is discussion on possible options for that. The rest of those 9 pages are looking
Design
at.
be done on that town center. What do you think the design will be done?
So I'm trying to think the design, because we had the redesign part and adding it. I think it's around the end of this calendar year.
End of the calendar year.
Yes.
And there was I don't have the,
Left side. It's the colored page. Oh, that one.
Lisa.
That was I handed out from last month.
Yesterday.
yeah, that's in your minutes, right?
Let's see, town
Secret
center.
paper.
Yeah, design complete December. So close. Yep, that's right. Number 2026. And we still use the fire unit. Yes. Gotta do that before you can advertise for construction. The remaining projects on this slideshow are ones that are R&R funded or out of that remaining 2017 bonds we have on hand is $23 million, which we'll be spending roughly $10 million in 27. So water well rehabilitation projects, we have 3 of them in kind of different phases right now, or about to start. We have a project to build a new elevated storage tank that's been under design for a while. We're on the northwest side of the Woodlands. Then we have wastewater projects. The owner's advisor mentioned that earlier, that study. Projects that are wastewater plants 2 and 3, done different parts of the infrastructure. Force main projects to repair or replace force mains, which are the pressurized pipes from the lift stations. Lift station 24, this slide 60, that is that one that is substantially funded by those grants from the federal government for flood mitigation. Also, just one note, let's see, slide 63, the South Shore Gravity Main Rehabilitation, that's largest gravity sewer system on the south part of Lake Woodlands and around Woodlands Parkway. So that'll be rehabbed for to continue its integrity by those 2017 bonds we have. Last thing about projects I want to note is on slide 64. Ongoing maintenance projects. So these are projects that previously been in the O&M budget, not in the R&R fund or in the project plan. But these are still, you've got a contractor to do the work. You may have to do some design, but they're kind of ongoing maintenance for manhole rehabs, for valve replacements, coating and painting at the facilities. So instead of having 2 places where you have construction or maintenance projects, one's small and one's large. decided to take those projects out of the O&M budget and put them into the R&R budget. And which puts them in the 10-year project plan. And so you'll see those in there now where before they weren't. So all in for, as far as budget summaries, starting on page 65, this is only for 2027. So this is what will be going into the O&M budget for 2027 for the, starting September 1. The projects we have planned, that cash flow during that fiscal year for water and wastewater projects that are R&R funded, roughly $13 million. 2017 bonds, like I said, we have about $23 million of that left right now. During the 2027 period, we'll spend an additional $10 million of that. Federal funding for that one lift station, we'll use $958,000 of the $1.825 million. And non-funded projects, that is the town center and that is the Woodlands water line project. So construction easements for town center and design for Woodlands Parkway. That is currently unfunded. Just kind of give you an idea. Our fund balances right now is $30 million. So we do have the funds. We want to pre-fund projects before the fiscal year starts. So make sure we don't have any risk as far as not being able to afford to do them as they're going along. The next slide is a overview of the 10-year plan. Again, subject to change. We try to really define the first few years as well as we can, but the ones outside of that, you know, future studies and needs can change them. But as it stands right now, R&R funded projects, $101 million. 2017 bond funded projects using up the remaining amount of that $23 million, you know, so it's all mostly gone. Federal funding using up all that money that was we got. Non-funded projects. So this includes the town center and the Woodlands Parkway, but it also includes the AC waterline projects defined out of that study during the 10-year period, as well as some gravity sewer projects that were identified in a 2017 study for rehabilitation in the later part of this 10-year period. Because it's in the later part of the 10-year period, we're going to do another study to see if any previous I&I reduction, you know, strategies have helped reduce that in those sewer lines, and also track how fast or how much deterioration has occurred over the past 10 years to see if deterioration is happening faster, slower, and that can then let us to predict, do we need to do those projects that they're defined right now, sooner or later?
Aaron, quick question.
Yes, sir.
On page 67, first line, the anticipated fiscal year cell, the start year is 2020. Was it supposed to be
Oh, that's correct.
that's when that started?
Yes, sir, because started that project and then at the preliminary design or the final design, and then we put it on hold for a year and a half for the condition-based assessment. And so we
That's good. We don't have to go more detailed.
Yep.
That helps. Thanks.
Since we're on that topic, just to throw you a curve here. So if you go back to the page 24 in our book, and it says, they're talking about the town center.
24 on the, which one?
Yeah, the blue pages, you probably don't have. it,
Oh,
but Ed probably
well, I
has
got
something
it in
there.
here. Yeah, I got.
Who is CTPS? It says, it says discussion on CTPS
Oh.
method across intersections is.
That is a type of installation. Let me get through there. Okay, that's a, so that is a method to replace a existing pipe with a new pipe. It's a, I'm drawing a blank on what it actually means,
It's an
but
installation.
it's a certification method where you're basically grinding out the old pipe and pulling out a new pipe behind it. So you're removing all that AC pipe out of the ground and replacing it as you go with the new pipe behind it.
You know, actual cement slurry, something.
Mm-hmm.
I tried AI,
I just-
but I got nothing.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Just I would normally remember it, but, always when you need to remember it, you can't remember it. So that's what it is in a nutshell. But yeah, those last two slides are showing that list of those unfunded projects, from, 27 to 36. So that means.
Can you go over a little bit about how you develop these costs? Because they've been jumping around a lot.
Which costs in particular?
Well, just, like the AC pipe. I mean, if you go back,
Well, yeah.
to 2020, I mean, we, in this room, April 2024, we had a discussion on AC pipe and the sewage plant. And, if you break out the AC pipe, it was like 4 million a mile. Then we got HDR, we got 5.4 million. Now we're at almost 12 million a mile.
Yeah, well, we started looking at the pricing for AC pipe back in 2017 when we started developing the projects initially. And unfortunately, over time, just, you can't say inflation, but installation costs, the construction industry just seems to not have a hunger like they may have at one time. Material costs have gone up substantially. So unfortunately, just the amount per foot, each time we seem to look at it, it'll double or triple. But that is from the, industry experts and what they're seeing in projects that they do throughout the country or throughout the world. I wish I had a better explanation than that, but that's just what we're seeing.
You guys use it online. I was reading a little more depth, but it appears to be, some sort of website you can go to and do cost estimating. I forget what they call it, civil engineering.
Well, you have RSMeans, you have, you have different types of calculators. I think I know what you're talking about. Of course, that type of installation is very specialized. So you don't have, say, 20 years of history on that type of project. So they're, just keeping up with the trends. And unfortunately, the trends in the past 5 years have really, when they bid out these projects, the highly inflated. And when they're trying to buy the materials, just being highly inflated, with this COVID and what they say, they always said you couldn't get the products, whatever that term they used. Seems like when prices go up, they never come back down.
From
That would have been true.
from my experience, using online resources, it's not very valuable.
Not very valuable.
No, usually what we would do was try to get the most recent bids for a similar type of project and a similar size project in your region. Because even regionally it
Yes.
changes, because, contractors from across the state don't travel to work here. So you're looking at local contractors that do that work.
Yep.
And you look at prices recently. And so those are the best ways. And you really won't know that 5 years out. You're really gonna have to get the project designed and then start diving in. So when you're 3, 4, 5 years out, it's really pretty 30,000 level in terms of, getting accuracy. So that's why you typically see higher contingency numbers on projects that are further out. Unfortunately.
So in the end of this year, you'll have the design done for town center.
It'll be procured, a contractor will bid on it, and then that price will be locked in.
So when you say the contract, you would send it out to bid. Typically, how many companies, you have an approved bidders list, right?
Well, we publicly advertise it, so it goes up to everybody.
But they don't get to dictate the price, the market.
I know market does, right.
Yeah.
And we don't dictate who it goes out to either. We have to make it available to everybody. But then, as you probably, aware that we go with a sealed proposal process, kind of slow bid, so we make sure that we get the best value contractor. And a large percentage of the weighting of how we select that contractor is by price. However, there is another percent that is based upon qualifications, because and their previous experience, we check, the references, things of that nature. Because one of the worst things you'd have is a cheap contractor, but they don't know what they're doing, and so you're messing up everything already, and then you're probably impacting the public, and on top of that, they probably want to file claims left and right. just not how you want to operate.
So, when you have to bid, obviously that's a closed process, right?
Yes,
That's not, I couldn't hand you a Free Information Act request and get all that information.
it's sealed, yeah.
It's sealed, right? So you develop like a worksheet that has, here's the 6 guys who bid it and a ranking of, of the attributes that you make the decision on. So cost is, X percent and the other attributes are, is that available for discussion with the MUDs after you get
Yeah,
done?
yeah, we can definitely give, we can give
It's like a
examples.
scoring matrix or something
It's a
like that.
scoring it's exactly what it is. And that's when we put out the documents for advertisement for the contractors to procure on, we say procure, not bid. That includes all that scoring criteria, so they know what to provide as far as qualifications, down to how many pages, how it needs to be, what font size, what type of experience from their company, from their lead people, their foreman or their superintendents. And then giving even an approach to different parts of the project, like how would you handle traffic control? How would you handle temporary water service? All that is the information requested of them, and then a team is put together once all that information is received as part of the sealed proposal with the price, and that we use that scoring matrix to then score the contractors.
So maybe as we get through the spring, when you get all that done, we can kind of have a discussion to teach us the process.
Sure.
Realize a certain amount is confidential, but we can participate in that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just we can do examples, or theoretical examples. That's not a problem. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
At the beginning.
Kind of leads into the next item, which is supplemental and all the associated things. The main thing that we have for you this month is there was questions about based on the tranche 1 and 2 of Town Center and Woodlands Parkway, what would the potential impact be to the customers? So Adam's office prepared these 4 documents, and all I did was take the 4 and pulled the data out to a summary page, which kind of shows all the results of all 4 of those performance into one sheet. And what this is showing you on the front page, summary page, is basically what the impact would be to the customers as it relates to water rates versus tax rates. And so what they ran was a 20-year bond and 25-year bond options for, if you recall, the tranches that you were looking at or that were proposed were about 32 million and about 30 million, which is on that last month. And so as you can see, that first bond 2026, that would have a resultant impact on the average water customer on a water bill, $4.53. And then the second bond would be another $4.27. So that would be over the next 2 to 5 years as that would be implemented in order to provide the revenue necessary to pay back those bonds.
And that's Town Center and Woodlands Parkway.
Correct.
And just to be clear, this is assuming a revenue bond issued by the SGRA.
Correct.
Okay. And if it were, in theory, to be issued by the MUDs through a general obligation mechanism, how many basis points, like ballpark?
I'd say 10 to 15 basis points spread.
We don't have, the problem is we don't have voter authorization for.
For everybody, which, I appreciate the context. Okay.
So we've also summarized, Adam put together what that might be for, as you were looking at taxes, or on the tax side, and you can see that kind of for the different MUDs.
You handed that 2 months ago, right?
Do I?
This
Brand new.
oh, it's brand new? Okay.
Well, yes, but it's been updated, yes. I think,
Is that in front of you or was that the updated one? Is that sitting in?
Yeah.
Oh, it's over here. I didn't,
Oh, this. It's
I
2.
was excited about swearing in ceremony, so I missed it.
Yeah, I think a couple months ago, which I think Adam's performa from prior was bill back in January, so I think the numbers at that point were like $4.60 or 70 cents. So he's providing that with updated interest rate calculations. And you can speak more to the differences between this one and the January one, but basically, updating the interest rate.
Yeah, we just updated it to current market rates. And then real quick, just to give you a little insight with respect to the wholesale rate, if you flip past that first, the little small page, we use an average of the last 3 years of water usage. So I've included that in the table here, top left corner. So if you wanted to look at it, then Chris did point out in several other meetings in 2023, it was a relatively drought year. So you can see 24 and 25 usage across the board is pretty flat, but 23 was a good bit higher. And then with respect to the tax rate, we went back and forth on how to analyze that. And so what we did was, rather than taking SFDUEs, because there are certain board members that don't agree with the SFDUE numbers. So what we did was we took a pro rata share of the taxable value with respect to each district over all of the woodlands to get a pro rata share. And that is included in the backup as well. So if you wanted to take a look at it, if you look at the third page, it's the smaller data, but all the way to the left. So we included the certified value for 25, the average homestead, and then the pro rata share. So you have.
So let me choose my words now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're not basing this on thousands of gallons bought. We're gonna sit there and look at the,
No,
So
so
it will be, he's just, I think, using a rough calculation to be able to generate this spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet.
In reality, what's gonna happen is what you were talking about. It's gonna be based on usage that will fluctuate month to month.
Month
That's
to
how
month.
each district will pay.
so in this mud, we, just choose a year. We used in 2025, 1.2 million gallons. Oh, well, that's thousands of gallons or.
Yeah.
So it'll be based on that usage.
yes.
So when you mention property value and the pro rata, so explain, the way you chose your words versus what
So
Brian is.
yeah, and so it's two different things. So one is for the wholesale rate. So for the wholesale rate, we're assuming 10,000 gallons per home per month. So that's average usage. So that's how we backed into, and what we're trying to drill down to is what is the impact to the actual resident, right? Not the whole district. I can get you that information if that's what you're looking for, but what we were trying to do is drill down to the actual resident so that we know what the actual impact is per resident. So we assumed 10,000 gallons per connection per month. And so that's how we backed into the top. The bottom, with respect to tax rate, we took for the district, we said the value to the total value in the woodlands is a pro rata share for the district. And then we backed into it based on the average homestead for each district. So we're trying to drill down to what is the impact, whether it be tax or water and sewer rate to the actual resident.
And I'm trying to find so on the last page, you have a breakdown of how the pro rata would break down under that estimate. Is there another percentage breakdown to just do an apples to apples comparison? So I'm referring to this section here that has the percentages that add up to 100 as expected.
Mhm.
Do you have an equivalent one that says percentages
For the water and sewer rates?
for the estimate based on, I guess, would be the water use? Yes, water and sewer rates, exactly.
Yeah, so really, I mean, if you look on the right side here, I'm just
Thank you.
assuming because the average usage
Mhm.
across the woodlands is 10,000 per home.
Yeah,
So I'm just taking here, if you look at your current average monthly water bill, which is the current rate, 273.
Yep.
And so what it would look like if you were to jump down in 2026, once you sell the bond issue this year and then 2028.
right. I guess just to be explicit then, in order to get a percentage pro rata based on usage, we'd have to.
Yeah,
do
you
the
could take
division.
the
Yeah.
average of each
Okay,
district.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't break that. I can add
Do you have a
that.
ballpark feel for like in the, on the third page, doing the estimate based on certified values, the chunk for 46 is almost a quarter of the total. Like just ballpark what it would be under the usage. If you don't have a
Yeah.
ballpark, that's fine. It's just that
Yeah.
it allows an apples to apples
I mean,
comparison.
Well, again, it's on the averages based on usage, so that doesn't change across the boundaries of the MUDs, whereas there may be bigger houses in
Mhm.
different districts, and so
Yeah.
that's gonna have a bigger play.
Yeah, okay.
It's not really up, at all. Now, all the numbers below the line on the front page would require a vote by the voters, a rollback tax election. And so, the thought there is that if that were to be the case, we really want to do that. It's likely when the evaluation of the wastewater treatment plant gets done, you have all you can update the cost of the tier 2 water line projects. And you have at that point, the bigger numbers that you're playing with, that may be the opportune time to take a closer look at the tax side of things. You wouldn't want to do that, every couple of years go to the voters. You really want to package that up when you have a line of sight to the bigger projects. So
The next election point would be the second week in August. We'd have to, if we did it this year, we'd have have it all ready, right, for November
it
election.
wouldn't be this year.
It wouldn't be this year. I realize it won't be this year because we don't have it run away.
Right.
We don't have it run away.
Well, not if
You don't have all the numbers.
You don't have the data.
They'd have that,
Yeah,
right?
You'll need that.
But the year that the districts decide to, if they decide to move forward with a rollback election, the timing will be a little bit awkward because you'll have to call that election in August because of the deadline for November election,
Right.
even though you won't actually be adopting your tax rate in August. You're just getting certified from the county in August or the end of July. And so you're not usually levying your tax rate until September. So you're going to be calling a rollback election before you've actually adopted your tax rate. That's going to be a little clunky, but that's just the way the statute's set up.
And it'd be dependent upon each MUD voting for 9 months.
Yeah.
Voting to approve it. If they don't, then it'd be back to this hybrid we're talking now.
Yeah, I mean, legally, you don't have to have uniformity on doing the rollback election versus the infrastructure renewal fee that's basically, paid for with rates. We'd like to have that, but, if for some reason you've got one district that just either can't do it or doesn't want to do it, you could have one district with a large infrastructure renewal fee that's charged on a per 1,000 gallons basis, and the remainder of the districts don't or have a lower infrastructure renewal fee with a rollback election.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, what it'll likely, I would predict that what it will likely come down to for the directors is, when you're looking at $32 million, you're looking at bonds, you're looking at about $4.50. But when you add up 200 million or whatever that number ends up being for all the rest of those projects, well, now that starts to grow when you're looking at your water bill versus putting it on the tax side. And when you put it on the tax side, the gap between above this line and below this line starts to spread to where the residents' share starts to go down, the bigger that the numbers get in terms of their share, and it pushes some of the burden, more of the burden
Into the future.
into the commercial side of things, to the commercial users. So right now you can see, and it's all over the board when you look, if you compare the top numbers to all the districts below, it's some are down, some are low, up above. But when the debt starts to grow on the, once we have the bigger projects, that starts to diverge and more of the benefit goes to the tax side to the resident.
Remember, you have a 20% homestead exemption. So that is what
Doesn't
causes the.
Yeah.
Apartment complexes don't have a second.
Right. Thank you. That's very insightful.
Just if everybody remembers, our debt, pretty much goes to zero in 2030. We pay back all the previous debt. It's about 40 million left. And,
Mhm.
I'd ask Eric for some data business value, homestead value, non-homestead value. I've got the data, but I haven't thrown water against it yet, but I will. And maybe we can, discuss that at a later meeting. But
Some districts may have an opportunity. The ones that have already paid off their debt, they really don't have another option besides going to rollback election if they want to pay for it outside of rates. But we probably will have, a handful of cases, and 46 may be one, with the way that the debt structure works. You may be able to feather in moving pennies from debt service to maintenance and not actually have to have a rollback election, or maybe the amount that you need is lower. But that's going to be on a case by case basis. We know there's going to be districts that are not going to be able to do that because they don't have any debt. But we may have one or two or so, and we'll just have to get in the weeds about that more as we get closer. But you may be able to pull it off because you've got your remaining debt schedule coming down like you're talking about, and move the pennies over. And so you're not increasing the revenue that would push you over the rollback election requirement, but you're increasing your maintenance revenue because you're just moving it from the debt service bucket to the O&M bucket.
And I think you only have one shot at that.
You know,
Once
one
that
shot.
debt falls off,
Yeah.
then you can't do it again.
Yeah.
So once that debt falls off, you can take the pennies that are covering that, you can move it over, but if you don't do it at that moment, then that opportunity.
Yeah, that's one of the big problems with SB two is you had districts that had the rules changed on them after they were trying to be aggressive and paying their debt off. And then they got locked into this low rate. And if they needed to do rehab on infrastructure down the road, they couldn't generate cash to be able to do it. They had to bond finance it. Where once the new law was in place and you knew that's what the rules were, these districts that were starting to pay down debt, I already had several that have done that exact thing. They just moved the pennies over. And so you're not actually increasing your rate, your revenue to push you over the rollback, and you can do it that way. But that's only if you knew beforehand what the rules were as your debt was coming down. But those districts that were already aggressive and paid it off before the laws changed, they're stuck. And we have some here.
And we'll have those discussions during tax rate season, and you'll have options. I mean, we
we
figured,
pay off about our budget right now is 6 million in principal interest.
we figured
Yeah.
some
About
ways
another
to
half million.
kind of navigate Senate Bill 2. I mean, you can under levy, and we'll talk about it, but you can under levy on debt service and shift it over to M&O and then make a transfer. And then we do that over several years so that you maximize your M&O rate when your debt falls off. And so there are ways we can still work through Senate Bill 2, but yeah, I mean, you do have to get creative and proactive.
Because you can pay off debt with M&O revenue, but you cannot pay off M&O operations with debt revenue.
Yeah, that's a one-way street. Black hole once it goes into debt service.
Yeah.
Can't get it out.
Can't get it out. Well, our debt service kitty, kind of goes to zero when we pay off the debt.
Yeah.
There's no kitty left.
Right.
So, okay, so 20, did we finish that?
Yes.
Okay, so 21, Bear Branch, Panther Branch, Research Forest Drainage.
No update on that. We're gonna still look at meeting with some local entities to see if there's any interest to get some funding, but I still think that Corps of Engineers option, cap option for next year is probably likely what's gonna most likely bridge the gap of funding that we need. Local entities won't be able to fill that, but we may get some.
See, Tony's report,
Nothing additional.
Panorama's report. Anything else?
All right, the manager's report starts on page 74. So on page 74, those are a list of the open projects that we have, about 178 open projects. That's new and redevelopment projects where we'll review the drawings, do inspections on the work they did. About 178 of those open. Last month, we conducted 44 actual inspections on projects of that nature. We had over 1,200 work orders as well across the Woodlands last month. Did want to pass out this item here. This is a summary. We've been talking this year about all the ditch work that we've been doing that you budgeted for this year. And so just wanted to give you an opportunity to see what we've been doing because we've been talking about it. And so this gives you an idea of the items in green are the items that we've completed, the items in white and tan are those that are to be completed. And so we utilize subcontractors to do some of this and then with this work, and then we've got our crew that's working on some of the other work.
What is the meaning of a GIS update needed? GIS update. At the top right corner of the first page, the meaning of the
That's yours.
colored yellow. It says GIS updates required.
So when we finish, okay,
Mhm.
we go back into GIS and update the work that's been done. So if you recall, we built that data, the ditch database.
Mhm.
And so it identified conditions 0, 1, 2, or 3.
Mhm.
And so when these are done, if there's any changes, so a
Has to go
3
back.
now becomes to a 0.
Okay.
And so we've color coded that as
Okay.
green, yellow, orange, red. And so the 3s were red when we changed all that in GIS. So now we have a tool going forward that every year we'll be able to track 1, 2s, and 3s,
Got
1,
it.
2s, and 3s.
So you have a source of truth.
Correct. And we'll also utilize that to build the ongoing maintenance program to where every year we're gonna go in and look at, okay, have the 2s become 3s? The
Awesome.
1s become et cetera, et cetera. So that's just means that we gotta go into the actual GIS and update physically.
Okay.
Make
Okay.
those-
Thank you.
So this year, I think we had 50K in the budget.
No,
No, we did 46. Didn't we have just 50K?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Several
Well,
hundred
let's
thousand.
put it this way. We have 3 of 7 left to do.
Yes, not much, yeah.
3 of
I
7.
will say y'all didn't have as much as a lot of the
We didn't have
others.
as much, I know that.
Pretty sure it was more than 50, but yeah. That's what this one there.
Because I think it's 3 of 7.
Yes.
Here, on page 74, under, slide 67, Ritz Carlton, it has description new hotel. Those were only supposed to be residences. Did something change?
No, that's just how we refer to it, but no, they're home condos.
Okay, so that didn't change.
No, nothing's changed.
Joseph, on the GIS updates, just to add real quick, the highlights in yellow, those are attributes that need to be updated. So for some reason, if we were in the field and we identified a pipe size incorrectly, whatever, because of the vegetation, the siltation or
Mhm.
whatever, now that the guys are in the field
Mhm.
cleaning stuff out or doing repairs or whatever, now we're able to accurately update that. So that's why those are highlighted.
All right,
So,
thank you.
Just wanted to point out AWD conference is this summer. Just so you know, Association of Water Board Directors is an organization that assists directors, new and old, of information, industry information, things that MUDs are going through. There's seminars and things at the conferences, and so they have multiple events each year. And so their summer conference is the bigger event that they have. It's a 2.5-day conference, June 18th through the 20th this year. And then they have a smaller conference in January, and then 2 hour-and-a-half long little breakfast and dinner in the fall and spring. So the next event is the summer conference, the big event. So if you have any interest in going, this year it changes. This year it's at the Gaylord in Grapevine in Dallas at Metroplex area. And so if you have any interest in attending that, so like I said, multi-day conference where you sit through some seminars on different topics that you might be interested in. It's all full of directors from across the state. So it's a pretty good conference, particularly for new directors for sure. And any of those that are, dealing with new things that go on in our industry. Could be operational, could be engineering, financial, all different topics that are covered. So reach out to Shelley if you have any interest, and she can help you get situated there.
Shelley, have many people expressed an interest yet in the other months?
It has definitely grown over the last couple of years, which is good. I think last summer we had 12 or 14. In winter, we had about 9 or so. So that used to be 2, 3, 4. So that has grown over the last few years, and that's good. We usually try to get together if we can, maybe for a dinner or something. Let's go to just us, so.
Stephanie, if you decide to go, you should ask Shelley very quickly, because she has to register you,
Correct.
and then you have to get, a sign up. And the catch is, I used to live up in Dallas. So the hassle of that hotel is if you can't get in that hotel, there's really nothing close to it, meaning So you'd want to try to make a reservation at that hotel. It's a resort type hotel.
Yeah,
And,
the early bird usually occurs right after the midwinter, which would have been February. And so the rooms do go pretty quickly. They do organize through other hotels, as close as they can. If it's in San Antonio, of course, there's a lot of them. If it's in Dallas or Fort Worth, there's a lot of them. Where in this particular case, there's not a whole lot right by it. So likely that's probably full already, but there'll be other options as far as stay. And all of the seminars are usually at that one central location, the central hotel.
So if you have interest, move quickly.
You'll be stuck at Great Wolf Lodge with all the kids.
We are looking at having a new director orientation on June 12th. And so that'll be here. Typically for new directors, we'll put together a hour and a half, 2 hour presentation where we'll introduce staff from Woodlands Water, talk about responsibilities of Woodlands Water and SGA and those types of things, just to kind of get you up to speed on, what we do day in, day out. Not yet. We'll be posting that soon. Likely it'll probably be in the afternoon. Also, we're looking at having an all MUDs type meeting probably in June. We need to figure out where that's going to be, and we have to go through the legal process to identify the actual meeting location. It has to be approved through a resolution, and that was the community center across the street. It doesn't exist. So for the Bray Center, we're going to have to revise that resolution and identify that, because we're not big enough here. The rooms that we have here to accommodate, if all 50 directors and consultants, everybody comes. So we're working through that on trying to get a date.
The comments I picked up, there may be a lot of echoing in the Brady Center, big ballroom.
Really?
You might want to ask about that.
Okay.
There's
There's not a whole lot of
no, there's not a lot of choices, you're right, unless you go to it.
Yeah, and that, that doesn't, we've put 38, 40 people in there. So again, if everybody, now, the topic will be water line renewal. And so a lot of directors have been living that for the last, that's not specifically for new directors. Anyone can go to that. But, if not everybody is intending to go, we probably could use that venue and it would work well. We have 50 in there plus everybody else. That'd be pretty tough. But we'll see. That's what we're working on right now. We're trying to get a date. Because we also have to reserve these other, places too, and they have to be available. Going real quick, the global amendment pro ratas are there on page 65, and the coordinating spreadsheets behind it. Woodlands Division is 22% pro rata vote for that global amendment. More to come on that, but just wanted to provide that to you. And then in the back, want to point out we have quite a few thank you notes that we've received from customers. I always like to include those, especially when someone goes to the link, writing an actual, mailing it.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate when we see those. I'd like to share them. So with that, we will kick it to John for the communications update.
Evening. So I'm John Geiger. I'm the public outreach coordinator. We have a communications report beginning on page 86. Just going to touch on a couple items there. You can see our major points of emphasis there in the middle of the page. And then at the bottom, we finished up a pilot program at Tough Elementary for 5th graders on water education and water conservation. So they worked with their teachers on a TEKS correlated curriculum in the classroom, brought home water conservation kits to install at home with the parents, and then brought that information back to the teachers on what they installed. We're going to analyze all of that, make any necessary adjustments, and then ideally roll that out for all 5th graders in the district, or sorry, in the township next school year. And that is, we're doing that jointly with SGRA and the Woodlands Township. Wanted to point that we did get a nice award, page 87. There's Eric with it down at the TAWDA conference a few weeks ago. That was for our effort getting Water Smart from about 17% to over 80 in a matter of a few years. So that is an agency-wide award. That is not just a communications award. That's all hands involved in that effort. You've got examples of current communication pieces on the next few pages. And the last thing I wanted to note on 88 was if you're not signed up for Woodlands Water Weekly, I encourage you to do so. You can scan that QR code there at the top of page 88. What's nice about that, amongst other things, it gives you a good sense of our overall communications, the type of messages we're putting out there. That e-blast comes every Monday morning to your inbox. Any questions? Thank you.
I have sometimes I ask the same question more than once, see if I get a different answer. So I want to talk about the, this voting rights, for the global agreement. So if we send, that's a lot of muds, right? A lot of muds, and we send them the Woodlands, the River Authority sends them a late, a packet saying, please vote, and they don't return it. So is the vote of those who voted, or if they don't, they have to affirm, express themselves affirmatively.
Yeah,
Is
I
that-
think that's certainly what the River Authority said
That's
at
it,
the
right.
trustee meeting. I think that's right. We had looked at the language a few months ago.
Yeah, we
that came out, and I remember seeing the language in the Conroe agreement, same form as the other MUDs, about amendment having to be approved by 85%.
Right, 85%.
And so if it's not approved, if there's no action, I don't see how the River Authority could say that that's, 85% of the user, the user base, or whatever the term is.
Yeah. So a non-responsive assessment
Is
is
a
a no
yeah.
vote.
That's the way we're,
Yeah, no, I just like to get some things repeated more than once, because obviously it affects the decision-making process.
Apathy is hard to overcome.
Okay, so closed session.
Not necessary.
Okay, so the next is anything on future agenda? Anybody have a topic they want to talk about?
Just for just 1 minute of consideration to just put it out there. The creation, or it would be nice in theory to have a bank that specializes on issuing credit for infrastructure projects, and it might require legislative changes. Maybe it's a workshop and it's not an agenda topic, but maybe we consider a workshop for those interested in exploring that idea, because it would allow a specialized entity to issue the credit, and it would not require us to go to the markets, the bond markets, and instead have this specialized entity for Texas infrastructure projects.
You're
So-
referencing the Bank of Dakota that you talked about previously. Oh.
Exactly. And it might require legislative changes, so it's a bigger topic that it would be best equipped for a workshop. So I guess what I'm saying is, hey, maybe we consider a vote on a workshop.
So how would we get people to speak at that type of event?
Well, it would just be for us and anyone else who wants to attend it.
No, but I'm saying I'm an authority enough to
Yeah.
To,
I think
speak.
we'd certainly start with our financial advisor, and
Mhm.
have them speak to, their experience, because they represent a lot of different entities outside of the MUD space.
Mhm.
And then kind of go from there. I think that's probably a very
deep.
long conversation. I can tell you, we're very involved in the legislative process just for MUD matters, and the gauntlet to run for even very basic MUD matters. There's usually 85% or higher kill rate on bills, of all types.
So what you tell me is there's a chance.
Just don't want to overcome it.
I'm quoting from a movie.
Yeah.
that's right.
So just say we'll have in November, select a new state senator, and 2 new representatives. Metcalf is returning. So there is go back to the party stuff. They'll have Montgomery County Day, but I'm just saying, if you want to do something like that legislatively, you better start working on it like now, because, you know, they're gonna file bills in November, December. And if you wait to March, then you probably missed the opportunity. So,
Mhm.
you know, the race is really beginning soon to accomplish something like that. I've never done something like it before, but there are plenty
Yeah,
of people
I
around.
think there'd have to be a fair amount of research and we
Right.
want, you know, your FA to be involved at the front end because first, my guess is, well, let's just put it on an agenda. We're kind of veering off into discussion.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
let's stop and.
Can we
put it on
also
the agenda.
put on an agenda item to update about there's not a data center, there's forgive me, I'll email you the exact, but there's a data center type project going on in Grimes County, north of us, and I didn't know if that was gonna impact our groundwater water supply. Does not, what am I thinking of? Cause I just read it. It's May, December, and I have end of the year parties and everything going on. I can't remember exactly what it is.
I've read the article. It's up near Gibbons Creek. It is proposed as a data center is what the news article said.
Okay. So it's-
That wouldn't impact us.
But it does not affect us.
Just checking.
And just for clarity's sake, my agenda item would be to merely propose a workshop to go into this in more detail. So it's just whatever we need to have a quick discussion about whether it's worth spinning up a workshop.
So maybe next month, but
Yeah.
before our bond guy gets out the door.
Maybe, let's talk behind the scenes just on how to word that.
All right.
As far as what we're.
For the next discussion.
Correct. Just so I can get it.
Yeah, I can tell you in 10 seconds. You can word it as consider the adoption of a workshop.
Oh, okay. I got that part. Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay,
I can
anything
give
else?
you more detail. I get your point.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Just adjourn.
I second. Meeting's adjourned.